Well, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. I do hope that life's treating you well. Today, obviously, we're going to be talking about one of the new additions to my collection, which is Golden Healer. I'm a little bit passionate about it, that's fine. But before we talk about that, just letting you know, you might actually hear some rain today. Unusually, because it is summer still, we've got thunderstorms happening today and lightning as well. So it's a little bit intense, but I hope it doesn't interfere with obviously the video quality. Other things too, if you're new to the channel, thank you very much for joining. If you're a returning visitor, as always, thank you for joining me. Newbies, welcome. This is obviously, I like to welcome people. I'm actually hoping that I'll get a few more subscribers because I've done the event this week talking about crystals and tarot. But anyway, that's beside the point. I shall just jump straight into what it is that I like about Golden Healer, because no doubt this is what you're here to be watching and talking about anyway. So I must say that when it comes to Golden Healer quartz, when you look around, you do a Google, you're going to find a whole heap of different, I suppose different looks. Now, I have established, and I'll talk about it as we go through, that I think there's some mislabeling of Golden Healer quartz as well. I'm just going to call it Golden Healer from here on in. The piece that I've got is very similar to what I've got on the thumbnail with the brightness of the yellow. But I wanted to have this one here as an image for you to see as well, because many of them have this reddish brown aspect to it as well. And so because I've bought in bulk, I've got the flame cuts, the ones that are called flames, and they definitely have this whole patterning of different shades of like a sunny yellow with them, a little bit of clear, a little bit of white. They're not completely transparent. They're certainly a very pretty crystal, but they also do have some of this reddish brown going through it. Now, I must admit, when I got my crystals arrived, my Golden Healer in the post, because I ordered online, I was a little, just to add to that, because I'm trying to find suppliers, okay? I'm finding overseas suppliers, I'm buying from overseas, and I am rebuilding the collection, and I do have items that people can either borrow when I have events or whatever. But anyway, moving on. When I got my items, I was a little disappointed at a glance when I was initially looking at them, because I had envisaged probably the crystal that we've got on the thumbnail, more of that, which I think looks absolutely delicious. So when I got mine, and some have got these brownish streaks running through them, I sort of initially was repelled by it. But as time goes by, I actually really like that. And I think and believe that from a Golden Healer quartz perspective, and as I researched this video as well, that it's actually having these brown streaks within the gold that actually is part of creating the power of Golden Healer quartz, if that makes sense to you. Which I've read, obviously, after I've begun to appreciate the browns running through my crystals more. So anyway, it is definitely known to be a very powerful healer. It's got many uses, many benefits, many attributes. I wouldn't say a whole long list of them, as we see on some of the other crystals that come up. But what we do have is a very powerful type crystal with very high vibration energy attached to it. And this is why it's called a master healer, and you'll get to see shortly. Now, as far as the Zodiac is concerned, it's actually recommended apparently for those people that are under the star sign or sun sign, Scorpio and Capricorn. Now, I just want to reiterate here that I really don't know how people come to these conclusions. I ask every week, if you know how they come to these conclusions, let me know, because for me, I have a very limited understanding of the star signs and the sun signs. Basically, it's my understanding of working with people that I've done my little Astro reels that I've got up. So I can get the personalities, but this business with the Astro, I've never actually really researched the Astro in huge depth. Numerology is the thing that I'm into. So I do question if this link and association between a crystal and a star sign has got something to do with numerology being at the root of determining who it's recommended and suggested for. Anyway, moving on from that though, the bottom line is it doesn't matter what your star sign is. If you actually feel drawn towards a crystal, or you're going through perhaps a crystal book, and there's a specific activity you want to do. So for instance, I'll leap ahead here and say that the golden healer quartz, is one of its benefits is apparently to provide access to the Akashic records, or Akashic records, however you pronounce it, so that you can find out information about your life path and life journey. So, if you wanted to do that, it doesn't matter what your star sign is. You can still use golden healer quartz if that's what you're into. Moving on. As a metaphysical overview of what golden healer actually offers a person, it's considered to be one of the crystals that is a master healer because it works at a very high vibration. It's considered to be powerful. It connects a person to universal life force. That is the divine connection. So it's recommended for metaphysicians if they do healing work. Of course, if you like to work with tarot and oracles, I haven't tested it out yet, but it's something that will be on my radar to see if it assists me in that process. So when we talk about universal wisdom, we're talking about the understandings, accessing the pool of knowledge that is there available to us. And generally we do that through connecting to our guides or our guardians or the higher beings, if that's what we're into, of course. But I think it's believed as a master healer to come into its own because it offers deep level. Now, I've got to say, allegedly here, deep level physical healing. And that would be something that I obviously would be interested to try out myself. Or if you have tried it out, I'd be very interested to hear what other people's perspectives are when they've used golden healer. So there's not a lot of information I can really give you about the mineral aspect of golden healer quartz. And so I invite those people that do know and understand geology and perhaps even gemology when it comes to the golden healer quartz. What I did manage to find is that it is a mix of clear quartz and limonite. I'll be giving you some tips in a moment because it's often confused with another specific crystal. But what I did find on one of the websites is that limonite tends to create the yellow in the clear quartz. It just hasn't formed properly, according to the geologists. Poorly crystallized is the term that they use. Poorly crystallized iron oxides in the limonite, and that creates this yellow, uneven texture, if you like. Sometimes it can be quite transparent as a crystal. Sometimes it can be very opaque and quite solid, which is why I've put these two photos up here. The only thing that I would say that I'm very clear about with the mineral structure of golden healer is that it is a rock. It's not a mineral in itself, okay? And that's because by definition, I understand, open to correction, that a rock is basically a stone that is comprised of multiple minerals. So any of these crystals that you see, like chrysocolla or even lapis probably would be a rock, I guess, because it's got bits of pyrite in it, all of those kind of things. So that's an interesting thing. Now, the reason why I don't know much about it is because, of course, with a name like Master Healer Quartz, there is no reputable geo that is actually going to turn around and say this is what it is, okay, because that's just too out there for them. So it'd be good if a geo could really clarify. I did find a discussion by some geos trying to advise somebody that's into the metaphysical that was writing up a report, obviously for her buyers, I would imagine, on golden healer and what it actually is, and she wanted to be accurate. And so what I did see was this discussion that limonite is obviously got iron, traces of iron oxides in it, which creates the colour, and that it is quite often confused with what they call hematoid quartz. But either way, when we try and talk about the hardness of golden healer, I've guesstimated it. I think it's about a 6, 6.5. I could be wrong. It might even be a 7 because it is a quartz, although it's got the limonite in it. And it's not super fragile, but it does have a bit of a crispy look to it, shall we say, or a bit of crackle to it. As far as sourcing it goes, I do know that you can source it in Australia. I'm not quite sure exactly where, and also in the US. I saw somewhere that you can source it from Madagascar as well, but the reason I haven't included this on the slide is because I don't know if all of their mine sites have been depleted or where they find the golden healer. So if you know where it can be found, please do let us know, and I certainly will have a look. My little doggy's got active. He's found his squeaky toy. Sorry about that. So the relevance of this slide is basically just to help you to be able to get your eye to identify when you're looking at healer's quartz and when you're not, because or healer's gold. And this is because when I was doing my research, and sometimes I'm just looking for really good images that I can poach, I sort of saw a few things that actually definitely are not healer's quartz or healer's gold. So the first one on the top left-hand side, if you've watched the selenite video, you will recognize, actually not selenite, the desert rose, you will recognize that that actually looks more like a form of desert rose. And you can see anyway, when you can compare it to the legitimate healer's gold, that it's nothing like the other images. The other one underneath it, which I've of course put the red crosses on it, that one was being sold as healer's gold quartz as well. And clearly that's hematite quartz, if I can speak, hematoid quartz. And what that does have, and it should be very telling with the name, is it's got iron in there, whereas the golden healer has got the limonite, and we talked about that before. So anyway, bearing that in mind, you're looking for healer's gold quartz, of course, because you want the master healer. So the next thing is, obviously, you find the image that, you know, if you're buying online, you take a look and you see, is it actually healer's gold? Do you want to buy it? What's the price tag? What's the currency conversion? Some of it's pretty expensive. I forgot to mention on the mineral slide that it's actually considered to be quite rare to actually find a good piece of it. So yeah, you know the weight, you want to look at the price, see if it's competitive. And sometimes we are, as buyers, prepared to pay more than what you would normally pay, simply because we specifically like the look of a crystal, or because of what it feels like in our hand. So yeah, you work out the currency conversion, then check the freight. I always recommend people, before you make your purchase, if it's not clearly identified, that you get the diameter. You want to know, well, the dimensions rather than the diameter. You do want to know diameter, but you want to know also how tall it is, how wide it is. You want the proportions of it, and you want to know the weight as well, because I mean, you don't want to be paying mega bucks for a really tiny piece. You can actually get healer's gold in tumbles, and I've got some coming in the very near future. And don't forget too that when you're buying, especially if it's online, make sure you check the freight, because sometimes it might be marked down as being fairly cheap before you buy it, and then they pop on these enormous heavy freight charges. So I'm not going to go into a great big lengthy discussion about the spiritual benefits of healer's gold, simply to say that you can see when you look at this that it's working on the top end stuff, the really high vibration type activity. The only thing I might expand upon a little bit is, yes, it is recommended for healers. Yes, it does have protective and shielding aspects to it as well, which of course you want if you're doing energy work. I think it's relevant to talk also about that, the knowledge aspect, the deeper understanding of life, and knowing at a core level what that saying "as above, so below" means, and how to translate that. I could do a video about that, but I'm not planning to in the near future. Sorry, I'm really stumbling today with my words. I do apologise. I'm a little bit fatigued. I'm actually just pushing through to try and get this up in a timely way. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I'm stumbling. Okay, so what else can I say about this? Just, yeah, just read them. If you've got questions, ask a question and I'll respond to it on the Sunday yarning. So once again, I'm not going to take too long on this slide either, but basically, yes, it's about restoring balance. So if you think about physical imbalances, all you've got to do is ask yourself some questions. Well, what does physical imbalance mean? What's that about? The idea is that Golden Healer will actually restore balance to you. If you've got issues with the circulatory system, such as heart and lung disorders, or problems with the blood, and I would say pressure as well. I haven't included that on the slide. But yeah, anything blood related, it's supposed to help to improve function. If people have got immune disorders, then it's supposed to boost your immunity and your immune system and regulate it. Detoxification is part of it. Excuse me, I need to swallow. And look at that, vitality, combats fatigue and lethargy. You know, maybe I should be wearing it today. I'll tell you what, when I get my tumbles, I'll be wearing it on my tumble, on my necklace, I think. So anyway, I mentioned the brain and repatterning of the neural pathways. And of course, this is relevant for if there's any other types of disorders that might be to do with the nerve endings, you know, because if you've got conditions like, what is that one associated with diabetes where people lose their balance as well? Oh, is it neuropathy? I'm having a mind blank. It may be beneficial for neuropathy as well. Now, speaking of may, I've got to turn around and say, look, when we talk about anything to do with physical healing properties or the emotional properties, we have to say believed, okay? It may help, it may not help. We don't know, but you would never ever stop your your proven medical treatment plans or whatever. You wouldn't disengage from your doctor basically and just go, I'm going to rely on my Golden Healer instead. You would use it in conjunction with whatever health plans that you're on. Obviously, the other thing too, I keep saying obviously, is when we're talking about crystals and their healing properties, color quite often plays a part in it. And I might move the chakra slide up for the next video, because if it relates to a specific chakra, then it's going to work on the organs behind that chakra. We'll talk about that in a moment, but with the color of Golden Healer as well, it's pretty obvious it's going to be working with the solar plexus or the navel chakra primarily. So it's any of the body organs that sit behind there as well. The other interesting factor with the wound healing business is it is supposed to promote or expedite the healing and reduce scarring. Just a little bit of information. But once again, if you've used it, please let us know. I believe it's beneficial for those really deep-seated emotional wounds that require healing as well. It's recommended certainly as a treatment. I've made the list here and I've added to it what I believe that it would work well with the conditions and how it would help the emotional positive, to retain that positive attitude, you know. When we talk about the neural pathways, of course, this is part of emotional well-being as well. I've done videos on that. So if you're trying to create behavior change or to stop reacting, if you've got the anxiety, depressive type disorders, that kind of thing, then you're talking about repatterning neural pathways as well. So it may be beneficial for people with those conditions. It's certainly recommended if people are suffering from trauma or PTSD. And basically it just builds hope, faith, restores confidence, and all the good stuff, shall we say, to allow a person to live more joyfully, with more love, and that inner peace and harmony business, because we are talking about the power center as well with the yellow chakra. That's one about confidence, personal power, gut instinct. So that will help expand on any of those attributes. If you feel that you're lacking in that area, you need a little bit of support, then certainly Golden Healer would be beneficial. So I had to take a little bit of a break to attend my dog and also to reinvigorate myself. So hopefully it's a little bit more enthusiastic running towards the end of this video. Anyway, when we were talking about chakras earlier in the video, I did allude to the fact that Golden Healer quartz is associated with the yellow chakra. Now, while that's true, and what I've seen online with other people's beliefs, they believe it is associated with the brow and the crown. Now, I that's not my belief. When you are opening up to the spiritual realms and your psychic gifts and being able to do spirit communication, that's definitely very much a throat chakra activity. And also, if you are being a pure vessel, as with the metaphysical energy healers, this is a matter of activating and energizing all of the chakras. Now, I also touched on that before, but the reason why I want to focus on the yellow chakra specifically in regard to golden healer quartz, and there's also the matter of the base chakra or the earth star chakra. And this is because anything that's associated with iron, and golden healer quartz does have components of that, is a very grounding thing. So quite often when we talk about spiritual stuff and spiritual ideas, concepts, and energy work, we're talking about the very much higher chakras, right? The top end. That would be the heart, throat, brow, and crown. But then there's that chakra above, which I call the rainbow chakra or your angel chakra. And it's through that one that you actually do the access to the spirit realms. And to be able to get to that point, you have to have all of them functioning, and you have to be able to ground and center the energy at a very base core level deep into the earth. So that's the practical application of wisdom, if that makes sense. If you've got any questions, thoughts, or even different ideas about how golden healer works with the chakras, then let me know. But the other thing, going back to the yellow, right, my understanding is as we advance in our energetic development, that the yellow chakra actually turns the color gold. So at a 3D level or a third dimensional level, we're looking at colors here. But as we raise our vibration and we go into the fourth and fifth dimensional realms, if you like, that's all a bit complex. You might actually, if you might get some insight if you check out Universal Laws. I've got that playlist there, and that talks about dimensions in there. I'm not sure if I'll put the link up. It's a bit complex. But either way, I do feel that golden healer quartz is very much associated with the navel chakra, because that is the center of personal power. It's also about building faith, hope, confidence, trust, and all of these kind of things, and overcoming the experiences of betrayal, which is also heart chakra stuff. And in this image here, although it's a pendant, I wanted to use this one to actually display that, yes, golden healer quite often has these reddish browns. We've alluded to that also in the previous slides, but here's a perfect example of what it can look like. So when we talk about the uses, of course, we can use it as jewelry items. We can use it as tumbled stones. It can be bracelets. It can be pendants. It's quartz. It's the same as any other quartz that I can think of. I'm just pausing. You know, if you would make a bracelet out of amethyst, you wouldn't have an issue with it. You could make it into pendants. It is reasonably hard, but it's not super hard. So it's going to be hardy to a level. As I always say to people, be careful if you wear bracelets. If you're anything like me, we bang things around, and that will actually break the crystals as well. So it's same old with that. If you don't have a pendant like this, what you can actually do is put a tumbled stone into one of those net cages or something like that. I can't remember what they're called, but I've got a number of them. And that's how I'm wearing a lot of my crystals at the moment when I'm testing them. I don't actually have the tumbles yet of the golden healer, but that's coming. And as soon as they do, I'm going to be putting that into the net. Of course, it's popular. It's a good choice for doing pendulums and divination. If you're a metaphysical worker, some people do this. I've seen it done. It's not my practice, but I have seen it, and it's quite amazing. But there are some people that do healing sessions by holding a pendulum over the top of a chakra to test the speed, if you like, and whether or not it's functioning effectively. And what that happens is when they hold the pendulum over, say, the base chakra, if it's not moving, they know there's a block there. Then they might go to perhaps the higher heart chakra. If the person's got anxiety, you would expect to see that the pendulum will start spinning wildly. So for metaphysical workers, they could certainly use it as a pendulum for doing chakra balancing and that kind of thing, or even activating, or just to spiritual diagnostic, I think is what they call it. If you're wanting to actually do things like access the higher realms, you could do a meditation holding on to, say, a flame or an obelisk or whatever. They're certainly brilliant to put in your environment as an ornament, or if you've got a healing room, you might want to put one of the obelisks, or what are they called? Or the flames in there, or even if you've got a big sphere of it. I mean, there's certainly a beautiful crystal. From a messenger perspective, the reality is, if you've watched my other videos, you know I've got what I call the lucky dip of crystals. And I don't know that I actually would put a piece of golden healer quartz in there, but I might do. We'll see what happens when those tumbleds arrived. But I would say either way that if a person is drawn to golden healer, then it's most likely that they are in that space in their life where they're asking some really deep questions about their life purpose, the meaning of life in general, and opening their mind to the possibility that there is more to earth and life than what meets the eye immediately, and that they're willing to try out different things and see. How would I explain this? Basically, that business of having an open mind is about trying and testing new things and being prepared for the fact that, well, maybe there's nothing to it, but then maybe there is, and they're at that space in their life where they're willing to experiment and learn for themselves. They need to learn their own way. So they might be looking for a teacher. It might mean learning, if they've got a mentor, or even if they don't, if they're self-developing, it might be learning how to ask the big questions of the universe to find their answers. So I believe that this crystal is basically saying, if they're drawn to it, be clear about what it is that you're seeking, because if you're looking for clear answers, then you need to ask clear questions. If you want to receive answers, you've got to make a personal decision. There's a choice to it. Consciously, even verbally choose to be open and receptive to the information and knowledge that comes to you from the divine. And then the idea too is to remember that the divine never gives anything that's fear-based, right? They don't give unloving messages. They don't give fear-based messages. And quite often, if you receive a message, because it is normal to knee-jerk and have a reaction, because we're humans, to, let's say the universe gives us a message, but we cut it off halfway through, then we might be frightened because we've only seen part of it. There's a full story there that's yet to be revealed. So that requires a little bit of faith to push on through, and some courage to actually be open to get the whole message. So it would be like, commit to it. Keep committing, keep trying, keep being open, and keep focusing on the intent, purity of intent, aligning with divine will, and also being open to receive the information in its pure form. Okay, so that might be just something to consider. You might interpret it a different way, and once again, I'm open to hearing your thoughts. So as far as caring for golden healer goes, look, it's the same as any quartz or any coloured quartz. When I put up the crystal care stuff, which is, one, I would avoid any form of ultrasonic cleanser. That's simply because I would be concerned about the damage it might do to the crystal. That's not to say it will. I mean, a jeweler might have more information on that, but if I had a pendant that was set in metal or whatever, I would be inclined, I'm talking about the cleaning aspect here, by the way, to use very mild, tepid soapy water. And in fact, there is that business of putting tinfoil into your cup as well, because that makes the silver shine, apparently. I would consider doing something like that if there was a lot of grease on the setting, because that's what happens certainly with silver. I would definitely give it a light brush with one of the very soft toothbrushes. I wouldn't have an issue with that. I wouldn't be scouring it though. And once I've thought I've cleaned it, then I would obviously, because we've got it in the tepid water to start with, that goes cold very quickly, I would probably rinse it off under, I don't know that I would say tepid. I just realised, because my logic runs to, I would use cold water, but the water that comes out of our tap in Western Australia is not cold by, say, European standards. It's probably off cold to you guys, or off warm. It's quite often body temperature when it comes out the tap. So I wouldn't have an issue just running it under the tap to wash the soapy scum off, but you could put it in a separate glass of water with a bit of tepid or whatever, swirl it around, and then dry it off with a soft cloth. So that's one means of cleansing it. If you've got things like tumbles, you can probably just put it under the running water if it's been handled a lot, and then wipe it with a soft cloth. The same with your flames and your obelisks and that kind of thing. But then as far as when you're recharging it, because this is what us metaphysicians are into, as always, I rely on selenite. Selenite's the easy option. You just get it out, you put your crystal on there, and you leave it there for as long as you feel guided to energize and recharge it for next use. Habitually, if I wear a pendant, it doesn't matter what the crystal is, I will take it off and put it on selenite as well. At the same time, if you haven't got selenite, you might want to try... I think earthing would be a good one for golden healer quartz. That would be where you put it in a pot plant, or if you've got a terrarium or something like that, to recharge it that way. You might want to put it out under the full moon. I would not recommend for the Australians that we put our golden healer out in direct sunlight or on the windowsill. I think that the sun is too harsh here, and it will actually strip the yellow and the brown out of the crystal, which of course we want to avoid. But I mean, that might be fine for people in the Northern Hemisphere. Let us know. Anyway, there's any number of techniques. Rain, if you want to put it out in the rain on a rainy day, I'm sure that would work very well as well. But yeah, I do have a video on it. And just a reminder too, that that video on charging and cleansing and all of those kind of tips, that's on the Crystal Magic playlist as well. They're one of the first ones that I put up. But the other thing is, there is a tuning your crystal for use, and I've got a video up for that as well. So if you're a metaphysician, you want to work with it, and work with different people, even as a pendulum or whatever, then you'll need to, I say follow your own discretion. I believe you would want to attune it to its specific purpose, for functionality. So my friends, if you've stuck with this video until the end today, well done. You deserve a pat on the back and a medal, because I don't feel it's my best performance ever. However, it is what it is. We have good days, we have bad days. I would just like to say, before I skedaddle off, thank you very much for being part of my journey. New or repeat visitor, returning visitor, thank you for being part of the journey, sincerely. In the meantime, I'm going to say, have a bright day, blessed day, take care, catch you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.